Hello everyone, today we're going to be making some allergen-friendly chocolate chip banana bread and looking at some of the chemistry and science behind it. Let's jump right into the ingredients. For this recipe you'll need 2 cups of gluten-free flour, 4 or 5 ripe bananas, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of vegan butter, 2 potato starch eggs, 2 tablespoons of sweet vanilla almond milk, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 to 1 cup of allergy-friendly chocolate chips. As we begin, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Make our dry mixture. Begin by adding 2 cups of unsifted gluten-free flour to a large bowl. The gluten-free flour I'll be using is an all-purpose flour blend, which is a blend of rice flour, tapioca starch, sorghum flour, cornstarch, potato starch, and xanthan gum. When making gluten-free bread, it's important to incorporate a hydrocolloid. Hydrocolloids are the water-binding carbohydrate. The purpose of the hydrocolloid, or in this case the xanthan gum, is to provide the thick batter with some elasticity and trap air bubbles, resulting in a lighter, more tender final product. Next, add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder to the bowl of flour. Both baking soda and baking powder are chemical leaveners. The difference between these two leaveners is their components. Baking soda is the most common alkaline component added to doughs and batters. It is the sole chemical leavener added when there is an acidic component for it to react with. On the other hand, baking powder is a complete leavener, meaning the dough or batter it is being added to does not require another acidic or alkaline component to interact with, as it dissolves almost immediately when added to liquid ingredients. Finally, add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. The final dry ingredient, other than to add to taste, the salt is used to strengthen the proteins in the flour and allow air pockets to form. We're going to grab another bowl. I prefer plastic because it's easier not to worry about scratching it or making like loud sounds like a glass one. So we're going to get our bowl and we're going to add in 1/2 cup of vegan butter. I prefer this brand. It is the Country Crock plant butter. I usually use the olive oil one. We're going to add the entire stick to the bowl. I've been leaving this one out at room temperature so that it's easier to cream, but it's not melted, so that it doesn't create a liquid consistency rather than a thicker one. After this is in our bowl, we're going to move on and add in 1/2 cup of sugar. Creaming these together will not only help disperse the sugar particles more evenly throughout the batter as the water in the butter begins to dissolve the sugar, it will also help incorporate air into the batter. The air that is trapped in the batter then expands as the baking takes place. This is because the butter contains water which transforms into steam in the heat of the oven. That steam then expands while remaining trapped in the structure maintained by the strength of the xanthan gum, creating the airy crumb texture in the final product. While baking, the Maillard reaction also takes place. This occurs when the sugar reacts with the amino acids found from the bananas and other ingredients, resulting in the brown and the formation of the new aromas and flavors that are so prominent in banana bread. Keep mixing until you arrive at this thick consistency. In a third separate bowl, you're going to mash 4 to 5 ripe bananas. I'll be using 4 bananas with many dark spots on the peel, symbolizing that they are riper. As bananas ripen, they convert the starch in them into sugar, resulting in a sweeter final product. Bananas are also made up of simple sugars, including fructose, sucrose, and glucose. When heated, these simple sugars carbonize and attract moisture. The bananas also act as the acidic component that trigger a reaction with the baking soda. During baking, this will also produce carbon dioxide, resulting in a rise in the bread, though it alone is not enough, thus the additional use of baking powder. The baking powder is also important since we are using overripe bananas, as they have a lower pH than less ripe bananas. As you are mashing your bananas, you may notice a strong fruity smell. This distinctive aroma is primarily due to amyl acetate and other esters and green floral and clove eugenol notes. Banana bread, you want to mash your bananas until you arrive at a liquidy consistency, thicker than water, but not as thick as peanut butter, I guess you could say. So this is the consistency you want to try and aim for. Bananas. The next step is to prepare our egg substitute. This is done by mixing 2 tablespoons of pure potato starch with 4 tablespoons of water. This makes for a good egg substitute because its granules are very large and its amylose molecules are very long, giving it great thickening power as the long chains become entangled with one another and block easy movement. After this, we're going to get our bowl with our mashed bananas in it again, just kind of stir it up after the chunks settle to the bottom, and add it to our first large mixing bowl with all of our dry ingredients. Adding in our banana, ensuring that we have gotten all of it out, we're going to add in 1/2 cup of almond milk. The almond milk makes the batter more moist, creating more of a batter thickness rather than a dough. While baking, however, the purpose of the almond milk changes. While cooking, the proteins in the milk coagulate when mixed with an acid, in this case the acidic bananas. Next, we're going to add in our potato starch egg. As you can see, it is thickened as it has sat. This is because the starch granules have been able to absorb more of the water that we added in. Be sure to scrape all of this out as well to ensure the binding and thickening of the batter. Banana mixture, our butter mixture, our egg mixture, and our almond milk in the same bowl. We want to mix until we arrive at this consistency. The next step is to grab your large mixing bowl with our original dry mixture, and we're going to add all of the wet mixture in at one time. It's often recommended to mix together mixtures in small batches. I find that is not necessary with this recipe, as it takes pretty vigorous mixing to form the batter since it is so thick. So I find it easiest just to go ahead and add it all in at one time, making sure to scrape everything out of the bowl to ensure that it gets the highest level of tenderness, moistness, and everything that will result in the best product. Easiest to mix this with a fork rather than a whisk since it is so thick. The kind of thick consistency batter you want to arrive at, as I have found it is too sticky and moist to be considered a dough. It is time for one of my favorite parts, which is adding the chocolate chips. I recommend using 1/2 to 1 cup of chocolate chips. For this time, I used 3/4 a cup, as I was feeling I wanted more chocolatey than normal, but not too chocolatey. In a bowl, you just want to mix them in with the same spatula. When our batter is ready, you want to add it into a loaf pan. I prefer a silicone loaf pan because I feel like it comes out easier in the final product. Silicone is a long chain molecule with a backbone of alternating silicone and oxygen atoms with a small fat-like carbon chain projecting from it. This gives the pan its flexibility, along with the hydrophobic projections making it behave like a well-oiled pan. Once it's in, you want to make sure you smooth it out completely, as the texture you leave on the top will ultimately be how it bakes, plus some cracking. I like to do a cute little design, as you'll see in a second, and I do like a little swirl. It's not very visible in the final product, though it just kind of makes me happy. Completely smoothed out, you want to put your spatula to the side and make sure to get any batter off of your hands. Now it's time for the long wait. It's time to put it in the oven. For disclaimer purposes, I do not recommend carrying a pan full of batter to the oven and putting it in by yourself on crutches. However, I was home alone and didn't have anyone else to help me. I highly encourage you to get some help if you're on crutches. Also, I prefer to put it on the top shelf, as I find it browns better and just bakes more evenly. Now set your timer for 55 minutes and let the wait begin. This is our final product. While still in the pan, you can slightly see the wave pattern I did on the top. This is our side view. As you can see, it's cracked some as it rose. However, that's perfectly normal. And here it is out of the pan. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoy your banana bread.